Looks like we have a group of folks that have joined us, so I'm going to start. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this small business webinar. I'd like to take a few minutes to thank all of the local chambers and small business associates. By the way, I'm State Senator Anthony Portantino, so good morning. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our the local chambers of commerce and our small business associations for being the voice of small businesses, as well as the California Small Business Association. All of these groups work tirelessly to make sure business owners were updated, and we've got a list of folks who have done outreach for us. So you can see all of the local chambers that have been involved in helping. So thank you. These folks work tirelessly to help our local business owners. There's a lot of updated information and resources from the federal, state, and local government that obviously your local chambers and business association help facilitate and get out to all of you. And we've got a good group of folks here to learn more about small business resources. So we're going to have a great conversation. I also want to give a shout out to Don Lowell, who is the director of the Small Business Development Center at Pasadena City College. Don leads a team of experienced business consultants and entrepreneurs who advise business owners in raising capital, strategic planning, legal and sales and marketing and financial analysis. And so we've been working with Don through the pandemic, and we on our COVID small business webinar that we did, and he's a resource. And so he's here with us and as part of our team, and I just want to point that out, that he's a great resource for all of us. We have presenters. We have Giamara Palma, who's the advisor with the PCC Small Business Development Center. We have Chris Earl, who's the Assistant Deputy Director, Southern California Regional Advisor for GoBiz, which is the Governor's Office of Business Development. And so we've got the Governor's Office represented here, and he's a small business advocate. So we want to thank him as well, and Giamara. And then we've got Daniel Kelleher, who is the Assistant Director with the Department of Economic Opportunity. Want to give a couple brief, and I want to thank my staff and everyone who's worked to put this together. And obviously our office is going to continue to be a resource today, tomorrow, and into the future to help small businesses as much as we can. You all know you're here. You all know how important your small business is to your local community, how important it is to your family. And so we want to make sure that you are as successful as possible as we come out of the pandemic. The state has put in $1.1 billion from the American Rescue Plan, which was allocated to help support small businesses. And we leveraged an additional $18 billion of capital to the California small businesses to supplement these funds. Our 2021 budget added another $20 million general fund for iBank small business loans. So there's a lot of resources out there that the state has tried to program. We've also included nonprofits with our small businesses and for supplemental paid sick leave grants of $250 million. We've got technical assistance opportunities for small businesses. We put $6 million in the budget in 2022, and $26 million in ongoing was approved to permanently extend the California Small Business Advocate Technical Assistance Program. So there's lots of resources out there. Hopefully today, our panelists will help you navigate and give you, and we've got a whole bunch of questions that we asked folks to submit. We are going to go right to our first speaker, because I know you want to, all of you are from your small businesses, you want to get in and find out how we can help you. And so our first speaker is Giamara Palma, who is, as I said, is an advisor with the PCC Small Business Development Center. And she's going to talk about pay transparency, bereavement leave, and Cal Savers. And then we're going to have some questions that we took in from prior to the webinar. We asked folks to submit questions, and so I'm going to go through those questions, and then time permitting at the end, we might take some questions on the fly from all of you who are out there. We got 86 people who are here to participate, and I'm going to turn it over to Giamara to do our first presentation.
Thank you, Senator, so much for having us here today. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. Again, my name is Giamara Palma. I'm one of the advisors here with the Pasadena City College Small Business Development Center. Before we get started, I'd like to give everybody a brief overview of who we are and what we do. So I'm going to play a short video about the Small Business Development Center.
At America's Small Business Development Center, our mission is simple: to help businesses grow and succeed. At the SBDC, we offer no-cost consulting and low-cost training to make it easier for businesses to start, grow, and recover.
Are we having...
As a valued resource partner of the SBA, the SBDC serves small business owners throughout the U.S. by providing timely expertise and advice that business owners can use today. These services are especially helpful for small businesses impacted by COVID-19. There are 9 SBDC locations in LA and Ventura counties, and one right here in Pasadena at Pasadena City College, where we offer one-to-one consulting with experts in SBA disaster loans, strategic planning, marketing, financial analysis, and many more vital services. For no-cost help with your small business, contact the PCC SBDC at 626-585-3105, SBDC at pasadena.edu, or pccsbdc.org. We are here to help, no cost and no catch.
And as Senator Portantino mentioned, we are a great resource to small businesses. We have a team of over 20 advisors at the Pasadena City College Small Business Development Center. So feel free to reach out to any of us for any assistance you may need. A brief background about myself: I've been in human resources for over 15 years now. I'm also a small business owner of a boutique human resources consulting firm called Solve It HR. I'm happy to be a resource to small businesses through the Small Business Development Center. The agenda for today, I'm going to give everyone a brief update, more of like cliff notes of 2023 employment laws for small businesses. Now, these are not all the employment laws that went into effect this year, but these are the most relevant to small business owners. We'll talk about wage and hour laws, employee benefit laws, workplace safety and discrimination, and I will wrap it up at the end with a Q&A, and hopefully we have time to address a few questions. A disclaimer before we get started: the information shared with you all here today is up to date as of April 21st, 2023. As you know, human resources is an ever-evolving discipline, so the materials shared with you are for informational purposes and not to be considered for legal advice or recommendations. And with that said, let's dive right in. First up, we have Senate Bill 1162 that relates to pay transparency. It went into effect January 1, and this law comes with different layers. First layer applies to all employers. They're now required to disclose the pay scale to their current employees upon request, and also maintain compensation records, including job title and pay history of the employee for the duration of the employment and up to 3 years post-separation of employment. Failure to comply with this requirement may result in a rebuttable presumption in favor of the employee, meaning if the employee were to file a claim against the employer for not having this information or providing the records requested, it's likely the employee will have the upper hand and prevail at a claim, and hopefully that never happens to anyone. Second layer of the law applies to employer with 15 or more employees. This is the portion where employers are now required to disclose the pay scale on any job ads. So if you have a third party that posts job ads for you, you're also required to provide that pay scale to the third party that's posting those jobs. And the employee count of 50 employees is basically any pay period where the employer hits a 15 employee count. Bonuses and additional tangible benefits are not required to be disclosed, but it is up to the employer whether or not they want to disclose that information. And penalties for non-compliance with this requirement can range from $100 up to $10,000 per claim. Every year we have an increase to the state's minimum wage. This year was no exception. We are currently at $15.50 an hour for all employers. Previously we had different rates for smaller employers and larger employers. Now we are all at 1550. And anytime that the minimum wage increases, also the salary for exempt employees increases, as they must be paid a minimum of twice the state's minimum wage. So currently the minimum salary to pay exempt employees is $64,480, with a minimum requirement of a monthly salary of $5,373.33. Now, one thing for employers to keep in mind is that the exemption of the employees from being exempt from overtime in a lot of the wage and hour laws does not get satisfied only by paying the employee the minimum salary. There are two different tests that the employee must meet to be classified as salary exempt. One of them is the minimum salary, and another one is the duties test, which means they have to perform at least 51% of their job duties within different categories that are classified as exempt for employees. In addition to the state's minimum wage, we have local city ordinances that have adopted their minimum wage as well. In Los Angeles County, we have the cities of Malibu, West Hollywood, Los Angeles, Pasadena, Santa Monica, and unincorporated LA County that have adopted their own minimum wage. Minimum wage for these local ordinances typically goes up every July 1st. There may be exceptions to some of the cities that may have their own schedule, but it's something to also keep an eye on if your employees are performing any work within those city boundaries. Now, on the benefits side of the laws, we did see a few that went through. We have AB 1949 that applies to employers with at least 5 or more employees. And this provides up to 5 unpaid days of bereavement time for an employee to take if they have worked for an employer for at least 30 days. The qualifying family members for which an employee can take time off or bereavement time are spouse, child, parent, sibling, grandparent, grandchild, domestic partner, and parent-in-law. The time does not have to be taken consecutively, but it does have to be taken within 3 months of the date of the death. And the employees can tap into any other available balances they may have to cover for their absences, such as vacation, PTO, sick time, or any other balances the employer may provide. The employer cannot discriminate, interfere, or retaliate against an employee for taking the time. And an employer can require verification documentation for an employee's need of leave. If they do require it, so they must maintain the confidentiality of any documentation they obtain from the employee. We also did see an expansion of CalSavers. Now it expands to employers with at least 1 employee. Previously, it had gone all the way down to employers with 5 or more employees. For many of you who are not familiar with CalSavers, CalSavers is the state's retirement plan for employers and workers that do not have a retirement plan or do not provide a retirement plan to their employees. And owners are actually excluded from participating into the plan. Now the owners or the employers need to register with CalSavers by December 31st, 2025. Previously, we had this law that had phased in the employers that were required to register with CalSavers. Last June 30th was the deadline for those with 5 or more employees. But as of now, it looks like all employers are being required to register with CalSavers. If you already provide a retirement plan, you still need to register with CalSavers to let them know that you are already in compliance with the requirement. There is a penalty of $250 per employee imposed by the Franchise Tax Board for failure to comply with this request, and the penalty can go up to $700 if the Franchise Tax Board sends the employer a letter asking them to register and the employer fails to register. On workplace safety, we had SB 1044 that essentially prohibits an employer from taking an adverse action against a worker if they decide to leave the workplace because they have a reasonable belief that the workplace is unsafe. And an employer cannot prohibit an employee from utilizing a communication device to assert their safety in the workplace, basically. On the COVID-19 regulations, we had 2 updates to already existing laws. We had AB 2693. That's an update to the COVID-19 notices. Many of you may recall that employers were required to provide a notice within 24 hours to their employees of a COVID-19 exposure in the workplace. Now the employers can satisfy this requirement by simply posting the notice, same place that they would post their employment posters or in a conspicuous place. And they're no longer required to report COVID-19 cases to the health department. So we're really relaxing on the COVID-19 regulations here. Cal OSHA also converted their emergency temporary standard to a non-emergency temporary standard, which means that now COVID-19 protocols and practices can be rolled into an employer's already existing injury and illness prevention plan. If you do not have an injury and illness prevention plan, I highly recommend that you keep the COVID-19 prevention plan in place. And this is in effect from February 3rd of this year through February 3rd of 2025, at which point Cal OSHA should determine if this is going to be something that they're going to adopt permanently, or if at that point it's going to go away. All employers are required to comply with this requirement. And the nice thing about this revision or this amendment to the emergency temporary standard is that it now got rid of exclusion pay. So previously, employers were required to provide exclusion pay to any workers that were exposed and excluded from the workplace. So now that's no longer a requirement. So we're really relaxing here on the COVID-19 regulations. And last but not least, we have an update to the protected categories under discrimination law. We had SB 523, which essentially added a new protected category to the list of protected categories. So reproductive health decision-making is now added to that list. And if you don't know what a protected category is, it's all those categories such as race, gender, age, religion, by which an employer cannot discriminate against an employee or applicant. So now we've added reproductive health decision, meaning an employer cannot discriminate against an employee or applicant based on their reproductive health decision making. And that wraps it up for me. Right back to you, Senator.
All right. Thank you, Giamar. A couple follow-up questions. So, obviously we have a situation in Los Angeles County where we have different cities have different minimum wage laws. So if I have an employee who performs some work, like for example, a tree trimmer who might be in one city for an hour, another city for another hour, how does that affect me if one of my employees or delivery business or something where somebody has a presence in one city versus another city for part of the day? Do I have to pay the minimum wage of that city for that hour or two that they might be in a city with a higher minimum wage than where my home base is?
The short answer is yes. You would need to pay an employee based on if they're performing work within the city boundaries. Some ordinances, or most of the ordinances, do require a minimum of 2 hours. So if a worker is performing work for at least 2 hours within a work week, some of them define the week as a calendar week, you do need to pay them that city's minimum wage rate for the time that they spend performing work there.
So be familiar with the local ordinances in each city, and your office can help if people have questions in different cities.
Absolutely.
Great. So think of folks out there, you have a resource to help you navigate that issue. What we're trying to do is update in this segment, trying to update the businesses on all the new laws so people are compliant. I know some of the questions that have come through the chat are compliance-based. Talking about how is the state investigating these? Are these complaint driven? What's the enforcement on some of these issues? I know that's some of the questions that have come through the chat.
Yeah, the cities do enforce the minimum wage. Sometimes they may audit employers. Sometimes they may go through the Department of Business Consumer Affairs, I believe it's the actual name. And they may audit employers. I actually did have a client that was in unincorporated LA County that did get audited by the Department of Business and Consumer Affairs. So they do enforce it. So it is good for employers to keep track of not only because you're obligated to keep track of your employees' time, but also keep track of when they go to different cities in the time that they spend performing work within the city boundaries to ensure that you are in compliance.
Great. Now, there's been a bunch of questions on the bereavement leave component. One question is, does somebody have to provide 5 days of bereavement leave for employee family members if there are multiple deaths in the same year? So that's one question.
Yes, the answer is yes. So it is not limited. So if the employee experiences multiple deaths within the qualifying family members, they will be entitled to a new set of 5 unpaid days for every death that they experience.
And then obviously the bereavement protection includes all gender relationships.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Another question that has come in is, so I'm advertising for a job that's 100% remote in another state, but a company is California based. Do I have to disclose the pay of that out-of-state employee who's working remote for a California company?
That's a great question. That highlights the gray area on a lot of these regulations. The answer is yes. So if the position can be filled remotely in California, then the employer does need to disclose the pay scale, even though you may be advertising it somewhere else. But if you're looking to fill that position strictly in a different state, for example, if someone can work for you remotely, probably 100 or 90% of the time, but from time to time, you may need them to tend to clients within that geographical region, within that state, then it would only make sense that you fill the position with someone that works within that state, and at which point you wouldn't disclose the pay scale because you're filling the position in that state. But if you do have a remote position that can be performed in California, then you are required to disclose that pay scale.
Okay, and there's been some questions about CalSavers, and could you clarify who has to contribute to CalSavers, how it relates to part-time employees? Give a little bit more information about the CalSavers program and who's required and how it relates to part-time.
Yeah, so all employers are required to register with CalSavers, regardless of whether or not you provide a retirement plan or not. If you provide a retirement plan, your employees or you're not going to be remitting contributions to CalSavers, but you're just letting them know that you are already in compliance with providing a retirement plan to the employees. So as far as the employee count or the part-time employees or full-time employees, the plan is intended, or the intention behind the plan is to get the employees to save on their own for their retirement. And the employer does not have to contribute. Actually, the employer is not allowed to contribute. This is strictly a plan aimed to help the employees save for their retirement. The employees do have the option to opt out. I know many workers who decide to opt out just because it's not within their budget to make contributions to a retirement plan. So they do have the option to do so on the website. But as the employer, your obligation is basically to register with CalSavers and let them know if you do already provide a plan. If you don't, then you register with them and you're going to be remitting employee contributions to them. I think it's on a monthly basis when you remit those contributions to CalSavers.
And I have to register with CalSavers even if I have no employees?
You don't have to register if you don't have any employees. If you, as the business owner yourself, want to register, you are able to do so.
All right. And how does the pay disclosure work with consultants and contractors?
pay disclosure for consultants and contractors. So if you have someone who's truly an independent contractor, the independent contractor should be able to set their own rates. Should be able, ideally, that's what you want to have, because otherwise it could imply that you are entering into an employer-employee relationship. But as far as the rates, that's something that could probably be negotiated with them. But
if they're truly an independent contractor, they're not an employee, so you're not required to disclose, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we've got a question about if you have temporary employees through did somebody jump in? No. We question about if you have a temporary employee through a staffing firm, and so you're hiring a temp agency, who's the employer of record?
The employer of record would be the staffing agency. So same as now, the staffing agency would need to be the ones responsible for disclosing the pay scale, in addition to complying with all the other requirements that our employers are required to comply with, as far as hiring the worker, making sure that they have the authorization to work in the United States, providing them with paid sick leave, providing them with sexual harassment training, all those requirements that employers are required to comply with. Then the staffing agency takes that on board, because they are the employer of record for that particular individual.
And then the question, nonprofits, all of this applies to nonprofits as well, because they're considered small businesses for the sake of compliance to all of these laws, right?
Yeah, if they are an employer, yes.
Right. And then education component, how much outreach is the state doing to small businesses? Obviously, in the 25th State Senate District, my office is having this webinar, but what other educational opportunities is the state doing with small businesses? How are they communicating these change in law?
That's a good question. A lot of the communication, if you actually, a lot of employers may not know this, but if you do sign on with the Department of Industrial Relations and the California Department of Civil Rights, you can actually sign on for notifications. So you can get communication about changes and new laws that go into effect there. And also on their website, they have frequently asked questions about these laws. I will be sharing some links that will be available to everyone. If you want to get more details about any of the topics, there are some frequently asked question links on their website that you can get more information.
So one quick final question. Obviously, if somebody inadvertently is not knowledgeable of the change in law and they create a violation, there's no exemption for lack of knowledge.
Right.
Got it. And then I forgot to talk. Thank you very much, Xiomara, for your presentation. We're going to hear from some more presenters. I did forget to mention in the beginning that Commissioner Lara, the insurance commissioner, wanted me to mention that the FAIR Plan reached an agreement to increase commercial coverage limit to $20 million. And so for those of you unfamiliar with the FAIR Plan, it's an association comprised of insurers authorized to transact basic insurance. And so if you're part of FAIR Plan, look it up. So the limits have been increased. And so think of that. And again, Xiomara and Pasadena are a great resource for you. We're going to go on to our next presentation. And our next presentation is, hold on, let me go here. We've got Chris Earl from GoBiz, which again is the Governor's Office of Business Development and the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. And so Mr. Earl is going to talk to us a little bit about GoBiz and what his presentation is. So I'll turn it over to Chris Earl.
All right, thank you, Senator. Let me get my screen up really quick. Get started here. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, good morning. And thank you again, Senator, for the opportunity to share resources from the state and the Office of the Small Business Advocate. My name is Christopher Earl. I'm the Assistant Deputy Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, as well as the Southern California Regional Advisor for the office. And our office focuses on four primary missional objectives. And the first of which is providing information and resources to small businesses. And that can be done in a myriad of ways. We do have a direct marketing and outreach team where there's information, legislation, programming that are relative to small business. Call to actions will come from our direct marketing team. But in addition to that, we have a hub and spoke model throughout the state where we provide funding to technical assistance providers throughout. And through those partners, we're able to disseminate information to the public so that it's easily accessible. And I'll get into that a little bit more in my later slides. The next thing is advocacy. And so what comes with the advocacy piece is we do a lot of listening. In my role on the regional advisor side, I hold regional convenings where I speak with the small business owners and I speak with providers throughout the state to kind of understand what the challenges and the needs are for said region. And then from that, I take that information back to Sacramento and hopefully develop new legislation or programming that can fill those gaps. And so if you think of all of the small business funding grant programs that have come out of the state over the last 24 months or so in response to the pandemic, a lot of that's driven by the feedback from the public and from legislators throughout the state. So that's one piece on the advocacy side. And then resilience. Being a small business owner in California, I think resilience and disaster preparedness should be at the forefront of your strategic planning. And so we have some resources and tools for small businesses to help themselves get prepared in case there's a disaster. And we know this is California, so there will be instances where we just have to be resilient and find ways to continue operating throughout business just because of the nature of the climate here in the state. Moving on. So we talk about programs. We reference bills and things of that nature, and I wanted to kind of put this in a slide so that I could sum up or provide just a recap of some of the programming and things that the office has participated in. And again, we're an office within GoBiz, and our primary focus is really to support the small business ecosystem. We are the advocate for the small businesses, so sometimes we can be a thorn in the side for others throughout the state as we advocate and push for small business needs. So I wanted to take a little time to go through these slides and share some of the updates and some of the progress that's been made on some of these programs from the office. And first off, and Senator, you brought this up at the beginning of the presentation, there has been some additional allocations and funding provided through technical assistance, and this is our hub and spoke model where we have over 100 technical assistance providers throughout the state of California. We have the Pasadena Community College, SBDC. They are one of our centers as well and one of our partners that we work with closely and has been a longtime partner of our office. So first off, we had the $6 million infusion of capital for the most recent fiscal year for our Capital Infusion Program, better known as CIP. This program is in partnership with the California SBDCs, where we provide $6 million annually to support their activities in terms of technical assistance and training for small businesses, with the aim of providing direct funding to small businesses, whether through direct loan assistance, grants, investments through, angel or venture capital. So that is what the aim and the target for that program is. And then subsequently, we have the Technical Assistance Program, which was formerly known as Technical Assistance Expansion Program. This is the $26 million that was approved in permanence by Governor Newsom to permanently extend this program for statewide coverage to support small businesses. So we have increased our number of providers throughout the state, and this is the hub and spoke model that I speak of, where we have a myriad of providers and resources for small businesses from SBDCs, women's business centers, chambers of commerce, community-based organizations, and the like. And our main goal for that program is to ensure that all of our communities throughout the state are being served. And so we have various models and various structures in terms of how small businesses are being served throughout the state. So there are no exclusions when it really comes to this program. So if there's a need for small businesses throughout the state, this is the program, this is our flagship program. This is what the core of our small business assistance comes from. Next thing is the $8 million one-time allotment from the general fund to the California Women's Business Centers. This program was aimed at providing an infusion of capital to support women business owners throughout the state of California. And so that program already has been rolled out as of Q3, Q4 of 2022. And so that funding and program is running as of today. And I'll make these slides available. So there's links to access the centers. Obviously, you have PCC here on the call. Great team there. So I think you already are in contact with the right folks. Moving on here, just wanted to quickly highlight some of these programs. We have the California Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Program, better known as SBCRG. This program was done in partnership with Lindustry, where there were approximately $4 billion in grant funding provided for small businesses beginning in December of 2020. And actually awards are still being made at this time. We have currently made roughly $3.7 billion in direct funding to small businesses at this time. And so we're still pushing to get awards out. And I believe the closing date would be June 30th of this year. So we're winding down the end of this program. Awards are still being made. However, applications are not being accepted. So if there are any small businesses that have applied to this program and have been on that waiting list, we are still going through the waiting list. You would imagine there's an exorbitant amount of applications with $4 billion. So we're still combing through applications, still making awards at this time for this program. So far we're right around $3.7 billion. Next slide here is the California Micro Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Program. This was a one-time $50 million grant allotment to provide micro grants of $2,500 to small businesses here in California. This program is actually moving right now, and I have Daniel on the call. Me and Daniel and our team were partnered with the LA County EOG team for the LA County micro grant program. So please, I'm calling Daniel out. Hit up Daniel, he's got money, small businesses. So please reach out to Daniel if you have not, and check out the eligibility requirements. So there is funding available through the LA County EOG program, Economic Opportunity Grants. And I'm sure Daniel will share more details on that. Moving on here, we have the Accelerate California Inclusive Innovation Hub program. This program, and I don't have the dollar amount listed, this program was approved for roughly $20 million to provide funding to lead organizations across the state that will be tasked with developing regional innovation hubs across the state. So we initially had a $2.5 million allotment where we have these existing hubs. So for the LA region, we have the LARDA Institute, as well as the LA Clean Tech Incubator as our two local Los Angeles County regional hubs. And so both of those organizations are our innovation partners and do serve small businesses in those capacities relative to their focuses around small business. So we are going through a round 2 of RFPs, as Governor Newsom did approve an increase in funding for this program from $2.5 million to $20 million, where $13 million of that will be dedicated for the hubs themselves for program dollars. Providers love to have a little overhead capital. So we're going to come in and provide a little infrastructure for the hub so that they can have staffing and provide some support to supplies and things of that nature. But in addition to that, here's the great part about this. We were approved for $6.5 million in small business grants for innovators going through these innovation hubs. So hypothetically, small business could go through one of LARDA or Lacey's programs and get selected to be rewarded or awarded with the grant. And we're looking at grant awards of each hub will have around $500,000 each at their disposal to make grant awards. So we're looking at grant amounts are still being discussed at this time, but I think, maybe 100,000 would be a cap or, kind of a maximum. But we're looking at 500K for each hub for 13 hubs, and that'll break out to about 6.5 million statewide. So that's a nice kicker, a nice incentive, and a little teeth to the technical assistance from this program. So really love the Accelerate California Hub program. One of my favorites. Next up is the California Venues Grant Program. This is a one-time $150 million grant program allotment aimed at providing funds direct to live venues across the state. This program is still open and active. Currently, as of December, we had provided 828 awards at totaling around $111.5 million at this current time. So as Q1 numbers come in, I would imagine that number has increased at this most recent quarter. So just to update on California Venues Grant Program, that program is being led by Lindustry, and you can still reach out and I believe, contact them for applications. Next program here is the California Dream Fund. I'm sure a lot of business owners heard about this one. This was a one-time $35 million grant program aimed at providing seed grants of up to $10,000 for small businesses to create a new small business in California. There was only one requirement to this program, in that you had to complete an approved training program from one of our 17 small business providers throughout the state. And upon completion of that program, you were then eligible for a $10,000 startup grant. And as of December 22, we had made roughly 2,600 awards totaling $18 million, but I can confidently say this program is oversubscribed, and we have essentially designated all of the awards for this program, which is a huge success. So we are asking legislature to provide some additional support for this program for the next fiscal cycle. And lastly, here we have the California Nonprofit Performing Arts Grants Program. This is a one-time $50 million grant program providing grants of up to $75,000 for small nonprofit performing arts organizations that have workforce or employee-related needs. So if you have to pay for a centralized payment service, health, medical, any of those things, this program can provide funding to those nonprofits to cover those costs. So wanted to highlight the California Performing Arts Grants Program, and there is funding available. Actually, there's a nice chunk of money still available for this program. And currently we've made probably over 700 at this time, 700 awards totaling roughly about $31.5 million. And just to highlight a couple of upcoming programs that are coming up through our office, I talked about Accelerate California, but I'll talk about the California Regional Initiative for Social Enterprises. This was a $25 million program or allotment aimed at providing grants as well as technical assistance to social enterprises across the state of California. We are in the process of rolling out that program now. So we've gone through like a process to procure a third-party fiscal agent who will be dispersing the funds from this program, and there'll be technical assistance for organizations or social enterprises looking to become certified social enterprises, there's a B Corp tax designation that comes with that. So there's a level of technical assistance for these organizations. So this is a new program with a new track of businesses that we'll be serving through this program. I talked about the Women's Business Center Enhancement Program and $8 million. And we also have AB 2019, the Small Business Enterprise Program, which is a 25% requirement in small business procurement. Our office will be tasked with reporting out on the state's activities. So we will be providing oversight over a lot of our state agency activities around procurement and how they are engaging with the small businesses. And in addition to that, they'll be required to report to us equity action plans, agency by agency. And the last two that I have that I think are of great importance, we have the Small Business Agricultural and Drought Program. There's a $75 million grant program coming down the pipeline for small businesses through Assembly Bill 157. Grant awards are at a maximum of $25,000 for this program. And please sign up for our newsletter and I can make this information available to you. And just sign up for our newsletter and then you can get the automatic updates from our office on that one. Next up is the Small Business and Nonprofit COVID-19 Supplemental Paid Sick Leave Grant Program. Say that 3 times fast. This is a $250 million grant program for qualified businesses and nonprofits with employees between 26 and 49 that incurred COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave costs during the 2022 calendar year. This is from Assembly Bill 152, and we are providing grants of up to $50,000 to reimburse small businesses in California with employees between 26 and 49. So you can get reimbursed of up to $50,000 with documented proof that you incurred these COVID relief costs. And the last thing, there's the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI. There's $1.1 billion through the American Rescue Plan Act, which the Senator talked about earlier. And through this program, the state of California has received some funding from Treasury to provide loans to small businesses. So there's $1.1 billion split between the iBank as well as the California Financing Pollution Control Authority, which is under the state's Treasury's office. And between those two units, they'll be housing those funds. And my particular office will be in charge of rolling out the technical assistance programming for this to ensure that businesses are bankable and ready to access these funds from this program, because there are very specific requirements for the funding on this. And that concludes my presentation for the day, and I'll make all of these slides available for everyone. So thank you again, Senator, for the opportunity, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Christopher. A couple quick follow-ups. So people want to know how they could be abreast of, when funds get reauthorized or new programs. So your newsletter, people can sign up for your newsletter and that'll have all the details as things evolve, right? Is that probably the best source of information?
That is correct. That'll give them the most timely information. Yeah.
And they can do that through the GoBiz website?
They can go direct to our office's website, calosba.ca.gov. And I'll
say that again, calosba.
Yes, .ca.gov.
All right. So if you want to get on, up-to-date information, sign up for the newsletter. Can you talk a little bit about broadband? Just folks want to know how they can update their broadband. What programs do you have for broadband technology?
Right. So through our California Business Investment Services office, better known as CalBiz, there is a broadband team specific and provides support for small businesses as well as regional partners. So there's grant funds and things of that nature. Let me give you a contact person from our office and team.
Because one of the concerns is a lot of the broadband is helping residential, but not necessarily. A lot of the programming is offsetting residential costs, but the commercial costs are still rising for small businesses. And so how can folks get relief it's expensive. And if we're only helping the residences, what can small businesses do to offset their broadband costs?
There are some programs and resources that I am not as up to code on, but I can put them in touch with our broadband team. And if they just give me an email or a ping, I can take it from there and put them in touch with the right folks from our broadband team. But
folks should not be shy in reaching out to you and your team. That's the message here.
Oh yeah,
nobody be shy.
Not at all. Yeah, I'm your guy. I'm your advocate for SoCal. I have coverage from Santa Barbara to the border. Any small business inquiries, issues, any of the like, you can come direct to me, and I'll make sure that you're navigated to the right place. That is my role, and I take pleasure in that. So yeah, don't hesitate to contact me.
All right, and then on the Innovation Hub, that's for science and technology. It's not available for all industries, right? That particular program?
Yeah, so we're looking at it. We don't want to be too prescriptive, but we are looking at the high tech and the R&D side of things. But in addition, we're looking at scalable companies. So if there's areas or small business innovators that just have a really great concept and it can really scale, that is also definitely within our wheelhouse. of support, but obviously sure, clean tech and biohealth and things of that nature will be focal points, but we're not exclusionary to any other industries.
All right. And you put your email in the chat, but that only went to hosts and panelists. Mm-hmm. It's okay to give it to everybody else, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, of course.
All right. So if you're out there and you don't have the chat was only so the general public doesn't get to see that. So Mr. Earl's email is chris.earl@gobiz. So that's GOBIZ.ca.gov. So chris.earl@gobiz.ca.gov if folks want that resource. And so I'm just going to look real quick to make sure we're covering. Yep. I just did the email again, chris.earl@gobiz.ca.gov. So folks can get that. And again, everybody, there's a lot of programming out there. Don't be shy, and use these resources. Obviously, we're going to be sending out follow-up emails with people's contact information. The whole purpose of this is to identify the programs, but then help you navigate this. And part of it is on you to apply, and then the different places can help you through the system. And so thank you, Mr. Earl, for being here. We're going to go to our next, our final panelists, which is LA County, from the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity, Daniel Kelleher, and he is going to talk a little while. Then we're going to do the same thing. We'll take our prepared questions, and then we'll go to whatever questions that come in the chat that we can. I'm trying to keep it moving. I know you're all busy running your small businesses, so we're going to go right to Mr. Kelleher.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator. It's good to be here. Can everybody hear me and see my screen? Just want to do a quick check. It's good? Okay, thank you. All right. So thank you for having me here. My name is Danny Kelleher. I'm Assistant Director over the Economic Development Branch of the Department of Economic Opportunity. And I'm here to talk about economic opportunity grants and that program that is going on right now. It's already been referenced a little bit. So thanks to Chris for that. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of our business resources that we have in the department. So real quick, just want to start with an intro a little bit to our department. So we're actually a brand new department in the county. So we're the Los Angeles County Department of Economic Opportunity. We were actually just created last July, and it combines workforce development with economic development in the county. I'm over the Economic Development branch, and we have our Office of Small Business within that branch that provides a lot of services out to small businesses, entrepreneurs, to help them get set up, grow, and thrive. The department itself, you can see here, this is our mission and vision. Always kind of like to start with that, but our mission is about creating quality jobs, helping small businesses and high-road employers to start and grow, and to build vibrant communities and spaces. And you can see there our vision is to create an equitable economy with thriving local communities, inclusive and sustainable growth, and opportunity and mobility for all. So that is exactly what we're working to do. We haven't been in existence yet for a year, but we are building up, and we have a lot of exciting programs. And so I will, like I said, I'll be focusing in on the Economic Opportunity Grant Program, as well as some of the other things we've got going on. Okay, so Economic Opportunity Grant Program for micro businesses, small businesses, and nonprofits. So this program, it's got $54 million in grants for those entities I mentioned, micro businesses, small businesses, nonprofits. It is prioritizing the most COVID impacted regions and organizations in LA County. And the grants range from $2,500 up to $25,000, depending on the type of business and the size and a number of different factors. This program actually combines a number of different grants. So one of them is, as Chris mentioned, the California Micro Business COVID Relief Grant. And these are all open right now. So it combines that grant with 4 different American Rescue Plan Act grant programs, all funded by ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. And that's you can see there, LA Regional Recovery Fund, Regional COVID Fund, Keep LA Dining, and then Youth Workforce Development Partnership, which that just is different small businesses, micro businesses, and nonprofits that can fit into those different grants. But it's all one portal that you can go to and apply for any of these grants. You can see there we partnered with Lendistry to create the application portal. They are administering the grants themselves, and then we've also partnered with SBDCs to provide outreach and application assistance. So appreciate them being here as well, and all of the assistance they're providing. So I'm going to go a little bit over just the eligibility for the grants, provide a little bit of information. I'll go quickly through some of it. I wanted to have it all in there in the slides, certainly share the slides out afterwards, but wanted to at least familiarize people with it a little bit. And then we'll share this out, and there's also a website that has a lot of this information here. So, oops, sorry, wrong screen. There we go. All right, so we have two phases, basically. Both phases are actually open right now for economic opportunity grants. The first phase is focused on microbusinesses. That's that state grant that Chris talked about that is open right now. All of these are open right now. So the microbusiness grants, those are focused just on microbusinesses with less than $50,000 in revenue in the 2019 taxable year. And you got to be located and operated in LA County, and that can include the city of LA. And I say that because as you'll see later, the ARPA grants does exclude businesses specifically in the city of LA. There are other opportunities for those businesses. Must have, for microbusinesses, must have 5 or fewer employees, and then have been established prior to December 31st, 2019. And you can see there that it's actually coming to a close pretty soon. We are working on trying to extend that a little bit. Right now it's closing on May 5th, which is in just a couple of weeks. We're working to extend and provide a couple more weeks, but I think as Chris mentioned, all these funds have to be out by June 30th. And so we get lots of applications, so we just need some time to kind of process all of that. So we're working on trying to extend that, but for right now, this particular grant closes on May 5th. All right, and then phase 2, these are the American Rescue Plan Act grants. And you can see these are also open and you can apply. Oh, and you can see the website up here at grants.lacounty.gov. So that's where you go, and it has all of this information that I'm sharing, and then that's where you actually apply for the grant as well, and can get assistance in those applications. So the phase 2 is micro businesses, small businesses, and nonprofits. And you can see there, the microbusinesses is grants of $15,000 for microbusinesses under $100,000 in revenue. So these are a little bit larger potential microbusinesses, whereas the state grant is under $50,000. These go up to under $100,000. And then it's revenue in either 2019, 2020, or 2021. This one, though, it's located in County of Los Angeles, excluding City of Los Angeles. So this one doesn't apply to businesses that are specifically in the city, within the city limits. And then small businesses, grants of $20,000 for small businesses between $100,000 and $2 million in revenue in those targeted years there. And then for nonprofits, there's grants of $20,000 for small nonprofits under $1 million in revenue in those years, and then up to $25,000 for nonprofits with revenue between $1 million and $5 million, in those targeted years. So I'll go a little over some of the ineligibility, just to see. There's more than this, but I just wanted to cover a few things. So for the phase 1, these are the micro business state grants. Got to have a physical presence in the state. If you're not headquartered in the state of California, then you'd be ineligible. And that one's pretty obvious, I think. Any businesses primarily engaged in political or lobbying activities, and then investment companies and financial institutions. So that's some of the major businesses that are ineligible. If you go to that grants.lacounty.gov site, there's a lot more information on who's eligible and some of the requirements. I just wanted to cover some of them here and at least post them up in the website or in the slides. For phase 2, these are all the ARPA grants. Again, got to be in LA County, can't be a publicly traded company. And then there's a few types of businesses, financial institutions, insurance companies, private social clubs. You can see them kind of listed there that are ineligible for the grants. Okay, just want to go over this a little bit. Required documents. Again, all of this information is on the website there at grants.lacounty.gov. I just wanted to provide it here. I'm not going to read through each of them, but just so you can see, there's identity, certification of identity, and federal tax returns. There's different things that you can use for some of these documents, and this is all listed on that website. And there's a lot of assistance to kind of help in packaging this material and getting it submitted. And I'll go into that in a minute. But again, don't want to go over all of this I'm not going to read through all of this, but wanted to just kind of share it so you guys can see it. And then here, this is for phase 2, the ARPA grants. This is again, micro businesses and small businesses and the nonprofits. And you can see there, there's a little more flexibility in the different years that can be applied. And then it has just kind of the information around bank account and the different kinds of ID. Okay, so we do have, as I said, we're partnering with SBDC to provide a lot of outreach and as well as application assistance. So you can see here, there's lots of different types of assistance out there. There are online and live webinars that are going on all the time. And if you go to that grants.lacounty.gov site, you can see a schedule of different events and sessions. There are in-person events that are going on right now. And in fact, there's one coming up on the 25th, I believe. I've got a slide on this later that's focused on those micro business grants, because we're really trying to hit those right now, because that's coming to a close. You can see there that there's the Application Assistance Center. There's a number where you can speak directly to counselors and get assistance. And then we can do one-on-one virtual sessions or in-person sessions. They are set up there's lots of events kind of around different communities. They also have a presence on certain days at our East Los Angeles Entrepreneur Center, which is where our Office of Small Business is located. I'll have that address a little bit later. It's on Cesar Chavez Boulevard in East Los Angeles, and I'll have that address a little bit later. Okay, so here's just some general contact information specific for the Economic Opportunity Grant Program. You can see the Assistance Center there. There's that number, and then tech support. And again, there's that website, grants.lacounty.gov. I threw my name up there too with my email. You're absolutely welcome to reach out to me as well. And I'll get you to the right party to provide any kind of assistance. All right, I'm going to move in a little bit. I want to talk about some of the other services and programs that the Office of Small Business and Department of Economic Opportunity provide. So Office of Small Business, here's some other services just to let everybody be aware. Some of you, I'm sure, are aware of this. So Office of Small Business has actually existed in the county for some time. It's moved around to different departments, but now it's housed in the new Department of Economic Opportunity. And here's some of the services. They have a concierge service where we provide one-on-one counseling with businesses to help get set up, navigate different potential government requirements or lots of different potential assistance. We work with a lot of partners, including SBDC, and other partners to provide assistance in a myriad of different ways to help businesses get set up and grow and thrive. You can see that we put on a lot of workshops and do business development training. Then we also do referrals for access to capital and financing, as well as legal assistance. I actually have a slide on that a little bit later. And then we also run a certification and preference program, and that's specific to county contracting. We can be certified as a local small business enterprise, or a veteran-owned business enterprise, or minority-owned or women-owned business enterprise. So you can be certified as that type of business enterprise by the county, and then that makes you eligible for preference programs where you can get some priority contracting with the county and some assistance to be able to better contract with the county. We also have technical assistance in competing for public contracting opportunities with government agencies. This used to be called PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It's actually funded by the federal government, by the Department of Defense. It's now called Apex Accelerator, but same program where it provides assistance and counseling to help land government contracts for small businesses. So those are just some of the services that we're offering. And then we also the Office of Small Businesses is also on point for the Economic Opportunity Grant Programs. You can always reach out to the Office of Small Business for information there as well. There's that address that I talked about, the East Los Angeles Entrepreneur Center at 4716 East Cesar Chavez and Building B. So you can come in you can just do drop-ins there and come in, or you can call and make appointments to come in. And then you can see there's an email address, OSB, Office of Small Business, OSB at opportunity.lacounty.gov. Okay, this is just a slide on some of the legal aid. This is a program that we have going on right now. We can get free legal aid for legal help for small businesses. So this is totally free of charge. We're partnering with Beth Zedek as well as Public Counsel, the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. And so there's a number there, and the website. Again, we'll share these slides out so that you have all of this information. All right, I wanted to close with just a couple of events that are coming up. The first is, so the Department of Economic Opportunity in the county is actually partnering with the City of LA and their Economic and Workforce Development Department. We're putting on a Small Business Summit, which is coming up very soon. It's on May 3rd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. At Los Angeles Trade Tech College. And this is a free event to attend. It's going to have panels on free opportunities to grow your business, access to capital, procurement, and contracting. It'll have legal aid and consultation there. There'll be a business certification clinic, business assessment, procurement support. So we want to get as many small businesses out there as we can. You can see there, again, we'll share this slide. You can register. You can register right here, but here's the information around that small summit. So we'll share this out, and if I can share the e-bite directly with the audience, I'd love to do that, and maybe that'll be in the follow-up emails. And then I mentioned this event as well. This is the event on April 25th in Compton. This is, we have a lot of events like this. This one's just coming up really soon, getting help for the economic opportunity grants. And this is specific to those micro business ones that are closing for now on May 5th, unless we can extend that. We might be able to extend it by a week or two, but right now it's still May 5th. So you can go there and register and get help in person with applying for these grants. Okay, and I think that closes out my presentation. Here you can see the contact information. There's our website, email for DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity generally, as well as the Office of Small Business. And then there's my own email address. Happy to have anybody reach out to me, and I can point you in the right direction depending on what you're reaching out to me for. And then there's some phone numbers, and again, the location of our Office of Small Business. And of course, grants.lacounty.gov. Please go there. That is, all of the grants are still open right now. Microbusiness closes May 5th. The other grants close on May 20th right now. We're accepting applications up until those times. So that's the end of my presentation, and then we'll go into questions.
Well, thank you, Danny. We got a bunch of questions. One, so nonprofits with a budget under $5 million can apply for the EOG in phase 2. And applicants are being rejected because their mission isn't primarily to serve youth. And people are wondering, it doesn't specifically say that in the eligibility, but that's a reason for rejection. So what's the deal with, do you have to primarily serve youth in order to be eligible? Or?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. So it is definitely prioritized for nonprofits that are serving youth, but it's not a specific eligibility requirement. So I'm happy to, anybody who's getting that information can reach out to me personally or any of the emails that are there, and we can follow up on that. While it is a priority around that, it's not a specific requirement. It's because it's COVID-19 relief grants for nonprofits, so it is kind of generalized. There's just the focus on those that serve youth. So please reach out, provide that information. Application number is great, application name, and we can follow up and make sure that that's going through, and they shouldn't be just rejected outright.
All right, so don't be shy. Contact Daniel,
yes.
And he'll look at your case and see what can happen. Another issue is on the need for a physical location in the state. So what does that actually mean if you're starting an online retail operation and you need a physical location? Does your house apply, or do you need to have a commercial? What does physical office mean in order to be eligible?
I believe a house can apply if that's where you're mainly doing business out of. You do have to be, serving in the county of LA. I think you have to have some kind of physical presence, but there can be different qualifiers for that. I want to kind of take that back actually and just make sure, because I am not 100% on the requirements for that. So I want to take that back, and I'll make sure that I provide that response more clearly. But you do have to, as I understand, you do have to have a physical presence. But I think a house could work if that's where you're kind of.
So Joe submitted that question. So Joe, contact Daniel and give him the particulars of your situation, yes, and then he can help you try to figure out if what you have complies or not. So that question came from Joe. Obviously, we do have small business opportunities specifically for women-owned and minority or underserved businesses, right? Some of the programs are specific to those categories, right?
Yeah, so in the Economic Opportunity Grant Program, that is certainly a focus. The goal is around the highest and high COVID-19 impact areas. We have an Equity Explorer tool actually within the county that we do this overlay around businesses in certain areas and the most impacted. So there are those priority criteria on reaching those that are the most underserved, which includes women-owned, minority-owned, and others. The grants are, specifically only for that. There are other opportunities. I know Chris was just talking about some grant opportunities for women-owned businesses. So there are others out there. Economic Opportunity Grant Program, it's not specific to that, but those are prioritized.
All right, and Joe just followed up. Daniel's contact is on the screen, Joe. It's right there. D. Kelleher at Opportunity. You see it?
Oops.
Joe? Oh, it just went out. It is.
I was trying to highlight it, but yeah. So yeah, there it is. D. Kelleher, DKELLEHER at opportunity.lacounty.gov.
All right.
Yeah, I want to make sure I get you the really specific answer, and I want to just make sure that I don't mislead you on that. So please email me, and I'll follow up with the specific answer on that. And
then the contact for the free legal aid. Is there a specific email for that? Also, people want to. So
yeah. So you can always reach out to the Office of Small Business, OSB at opportunity.lacounty.gov. If you reach out to me, I prefer you actually go there. You can certainly reach out to me, but I get a lot of emails. I'm not as responsive as the OSB team would be. And so you can always reach out to them. But yeah, there is a website there, and there's a number too that you can call, 866-375-9511.
All right, there it is. And again, everybody, this program is on my website and on my Facebook page. So if, go scale through, fast forward through it to the slides that you have the pertinent information that you want. And those are the questions that we have. I think it's been a really, it's been an hour and 15 minutes of good information. I really want to thank our panelists. Just want to go through the Q&A one more time to make sure we got everything covered. Hold on. In addition to these type webinars, what other outreach is taking place in minority areas? Obviously, each state agency is doing the best they can to get information out, local chambers throughout the state. Obviously, I'm going to tout the 25th State Senate District. My office, I think, has got the best staff in the state of California, and we try to reach out to my district, and we've been sending out emails to everybody in our district and engaged all the local chambers. So we're trying to get the word out. I know each state agency is trying to get the word out. Feel free to pass the link on to your friends, and all of the information that you've got. None of it is proprietary. You all can share it with anybody you want and help anybody you want. Your local chambers are a good source, obviously the state. And then I just want to, people are saying nice things, which is good. But I think we covered just about every question that came in. And I just want to, again, thank the panelists, thank my staff for working with all of the state and local and county and PCC to get the word out. There's also the California Small Business Association, which is a great trade organization. We all recognize the importance of small businesses to the health of the economy, as well as your livelihoods. You're investing your hard-earned dollars to create your small business. We want to make sure that you're successful and that you ride out the trends in our economy and COVID coming out of it. So none of you be shy. You've got a ton of information today and people to contact. And again, thank you all for showing up and being interested and tuning in.